Hello and good afternoon. We've got myself and Richard. Hi, Richard. Welcome
Hi.
to another midweek show. And this week we are going to be discussing Fife house sales and how they're up by 7.3% on 2023. But yet, challenges still remain. Before we dig into that and, of course, chat statistics, let's cue BT. Okay, so the number of agreed UK property sales until Saturday, the 22nd of November, so quite recently, just last weekend, is 18% higher than a year ago.
That's
Now,
interesting.
very interesting, and it'll get even more interesting as we break it down even further, because breaking down those stats, as of that 22nd of November, just obviously, was that last weekend? Was it the weekend
Well,
before?
the weekend prior to this one, yeah.
Okay, I've lost a whole week. So as of the 22nd of November 2024, there was 1,009,340 UK homes had been sold subject to contract or concluded missives, which is an increase of 18% from the 855,000, we'll say, homes that sold subject to concluded missives in the same period of 2023. So obviously a big difference there, obviously 18%. Now, the average UK selling price has risen significantly, reaching a 362,000 there or thereabouts in 2024, which compared in 2023 was just 3,000 and 3,000. God, that's really cheap when you can get a house for
126.
3,000. 326,125, which is a rise of 11%. But don't hear that and think, okay, UK house prices have risen by 11%. No, just more higher value properties have sold in 2024 than in 2023. So that's where that rise is. Doesn't mean to say house prices have risen by 11%. So let's just kind of confirm that one. But obviously, if I'm valuing properties at £3,000, then they have increased.
Yeah.
But then if we were to do the price per square foot, which is a better judge of house
Mhm.
price changes, now the pound per square foot has risen only by 2.7% over the last year, climbing from 331 to 340, which, however, is in line with the major house price indicators.
So
Now,
the price
Richard,
per
talk
square
us
foot is,
through.
yeah, that's the more accurate way to do it, and that's how surveyors and things. Obviously, we've got home reports here in Scotland,
Mhm.
and that obviously is the more accurate way to do it. So it's good to look at those numbers to get a better idea where we are in terms of price points. But that's an interesting jump that you said there. Obviously, just to kind of wind back a wee bit. So you were saying the 22nd of November 2024.
Mhm.
Do you know you've just over a million UK house
Mhm.
sales has been sold subject to conclusion. Then that's an increase from the year previous, which you said about 855,000. And people that know the market or follow the house market and things, they might be
Yeah.
surprised at that because they might have thought, well, I thought maybe 2023 would have been more, but that just shows the strength of the market at the moment. Those figures are based on the UK as a whole.
Yes.
Obviously, just remember that as well. And
Yeah.
especially when you're saying about the average house prices at 362,000 and things as well. That is a
Mhm.
UK average. But yeah, no, they're interesting stats, definitely.
Mhm. Mhm. So then if we were to look at every UK region, so
Yeah.
they saw an increase in the number of properties selling in 2024 compared to 2023. So do you want to talk us through kind of the January to the November window for kind of each region, if you like?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So at this year, 2024,
Mhm.
compared to last year, 2023, as you say,
Mhm.
January to November, that window. And as I say, we're comparing the whole of the UK here at the moment. So we'll
Yes.
break that down into the different regions. we had a wee bit of an off-screen joke there about East Anglia. And we'll share that. Sophie wasn't quite sure where East Anglia was, and when I explained exactly where it was, it turns out, where were you born?
East Anglia, apparently.
Yes, you were. So that was quite fun off screen. So I thought I'd share that. Anyway, we'll start off East Anglia, broken down in areas across the UK. So East Anglia is up 22.2%. That's the highest growth in the UK. So we'll kick off with that area.
Why not?
Then you come across into the East Midlands. It's up to 21.5%, which is not far off that. The Southeast is up 19.6%. The Northwest is up 18.5%. London is up 18.3%. Then we come across into the West Midlands, and it's up 18.2%. So the same kind of trend there around the Northwest, London, and the West Midlands. As you come up into Yorkshire and Humber, it's up 17.6%. The Northeast, that's up 15.7%. The South West is up 15.6%. Wales is up 14.6%. Scotland, up here in Scotland as a whole, we're up 12.9%. And Northern Ireland is up 12%. So you could see that the differences as we travel around the country and how that area down, I mean, at London, let's say London, Northwest, West Midlands is fairly similar in the 18.5 and 3 and 2%. But yeah, Scotland were 12.9% up.
Yes.
So whilst we have an increased properties sold subject to conclusion of missives, the supply of UK property on the market is very similar to last year. So, as we say, 643,327 for sale in November 2024, which was just last month, versus 630,307 sales for November, the same time in 2023, November. So, fairly similar, as I say, 643,000, 630,000. There's not a vast difference there. So, we're fairly similar. So, buyers have that advantage, but there's still some challenges that remain. You said that at the beginning, Fife house sales are up, yet there's challenges that remain. So go and run through what kind of challenges then that buyers have at the moment, Sophie.
Yeah, of course. So the current market, presents opportunities for Fife home buyers, but also those lingering challenges. While mortgage rates are improving, and obviously the base rates were leveling out, they are still higher than obviously many prefer. However, affordability is reasonable, with some banks and builders and societies offering rates below 4% with those with larger deposits. But like we always say, speak to a mortgage advisor. We can put you in contact with one, because they could help you. You don't know what options are out there for you, how they have access to more of the market. But you could actually be surprised. But they are mortgage rates are improving. But buyers today have more choice than a few years ago, which obviously we saw in the numbers, obviously with the just over 1 million compared to the 855,000. You can see that there is more choice than a few years ago. And in some parts of Fife, properties are spending longer on the market. This allows for more time to consider options and even negotiate favourable terms, whatever they may be. That said, though, competition still exists for highly desirable Fife homes and those properties that are in your kind of prime desirable locations, or maybe they even have kind of unique features and might attract that, multiple offers. For example, bungalows, we all know they're like hen's teeth, so they will
detract. Also, there's a lot of kind of bespoke builds and throughout Fife and different areas and things as well, and that's where then you get people coming in and paying that bit extra, because you don't get it anywhere else, really.
Absolutely, definitely. And then, securing a mortgage agreement in principle is absolutely vital to give any Fife buyers or any buyers out there, not just in Fife, those competitive scenarios. You need to be, and we say this all the time, you need to be in a position to proceed. You need to have your ducks in a row, because having that mortgage agreement in place not only streamlines the property buying process, but it also makes a strong impression on the sellers, shows that you are a serious buyer, that you are looking to purchase. Can you actually purchase? Is it even feasible? Particularly in a situation where speed is of the essence. There's nothing worse than accepting your offer, starting the conveyancing, and then you've actually not even got your mortgage in principle, and it turns out you've not got enough pay slips, or you've changed jobs recently, or for whatever reason it just doesn't allow, and then the whole thing has kind of been a waste of time. So you're better to obviously make that strong impression on sellers that you've got your mortgage in principle and you can actually afford. Now, what else do kind of Fife sellers need to focus on, Richard?
Yeah, so obviously you've covered up where the buyers have the challenges and how to overcome that and put yourself in a good position in terms of demonstrating that you're serious about buying and you're in a position to proceed. It's so important, especially in today's market. The Fife seller then really must focus on pricing and presentation, and it's something that we cover repeatedly because it's so important. Sellers face this market where realism is quite key. So let's look at obviously November 2024 in comparison to November last year. As of the 22nd of November, which was not last weekend, but the weekend before, 2,701 Fife homes had been sold subject to conclusion of missives, a 7.3% increase from the 2,517 homes sold in the same period in 2023, which is the stat that you highlighted earlier as we began the show. The average selling price has risen slightly, reaching £211,640 in 2024, compared to the same time last year at £204,539. So that's a rise of 3.5% in the house prices, and that's here in Fife. So obviously we've looked at as a whole, and we're looking at 362,000 or something with the average. So we're £211,640, up by 3.5% on the previous year. The price per square foot on the homes sold subject to conclusion of missives for Fife has been £195 per square foot in 2024, compared to £191 square foot in 2023. Okay. In 2023, 80.91% of Fife homes that came to the market were successfully sold, completed and exchanged. We spoke about this last week. And its actual exchange figures are rather than just there's a sale agreed, but it's not actually completed. It's the transfers have not went through, and people have actually moved. The actual exchange is so important. So completed and exchanged in 2024, the figure has rose slightly to 81.61%. Now, even though the saleability has slightly increased, still that's only just over 8 in 10 homes are selling in Fife, emphasising the need for careful pricing strategy. And that's throughout Fife. And when we talk about Fife, that's from KY1 postcodes to KY12 and KY14 and KY16, which is St Andrews as well. And that is, and we're talking about this period, and obviously we'll go from the 1st January to the 22nd of November, as we say. And national figures show that 52.96% of properties were sold, exchanged and completed in 2023, only slightly improving on the 53.62% in 2024. So what does that say? What does that say to you then? What does that make you think about, Sophie, or what should it make people think about then?
Well, if you think about it, and this might be a scary thought for some, but you have just over 1 in 2 chances of selling if you put your home on the market. Therefore, like we'll speak about till we are blue in the face, accurate pricing is more important than ever. But it isn't the only factor. Homes that kind of stand out in today's market often do so because of, exceptional marketing. And what does that exceptional marketing look like? We're a multimedia agency. We're a digital agency. It isn't just a silent movie. It's a complete video walkthrough showcasing the property, adding that emotion, but also telling, if they're maybe not from Fife, where are we in terms of commuting links and schooling and amenities, Fife Coastal Path, What where I'll
To
put it
tell
in
me
there.
about the Fife coastal path.
Can't forget the Five Coastal Path.
Yeah,
But what does that look like? And that is where you do need that exceptional marketing to stand out.
yeah,
And when you've got other competition, that's what we do differently. It is the virtual or the video tours, the high quality photography. Is it the aerial photography? Like, is it the e-snook where we also want the drone and the
yeah.
footage? Your targeted social media campaigns, they're no longer optional. They're actually essential so that we are right in people's faces and your property is right there in people's faces. The QR codes that we're also doing as well. It's all these bits that, makes your property stand out. So for us looking to maximize interest and achieve a strong price, presenting the property in the best possible light is just a non-negotiable step. You can't just be chucking a board up and crossing your fingers.
I
Doesn't work
know
like
you're absolutely right, and when times are good and the market's really good,
Mhm.
some agents can do that and coast through because the properties are, I mean, the market's just so flooded with buyers, and do you know that that's, but then when times change, it's like that's when you start to see who the predominantly active agents are with their digital
Yeah.
marketing strategy, with their, obviously, like you say, their campaigns and
Mhm.
the targeted campaigns to get your property in front of the right buyer, and really pushing it out there. I mean, pictures and descriptions obviously have their place in
Oh,
listing property, but are your pictures, are they professional photography? Do you have a copywriter doing your descriptions? Do you have that backed up with your interactive virtual tour with your agent? And you know, just all these things go hand in hand. And like you say, obviously, Sophie, the difference and the impact that has to just pictures and descriptions on a board in the front garden, it's completely
Mhm.
different. And like you say, they're non-negotiable. They're the fundamental part of marketing a property for sale, and indeed for
Absolutely.
let, in this day and age.
Mhm.
And if your agent's not doing that, or at least has most of these fundamental parts, then you're going to struggle. So yeah, definitely, you're absolutely right.
Mhm. Absolutely. So then, if we look at kind of the local perspective, Fife's
Okay.
unique market dynamics, Fife's property market has always had its quirks, and
Mm-hmm.
2024 is certainly no exception. That was easy
Exception.
for me to say. I'm having one of those days today. Do you not
Put your teeth
think?
back in, Sophie.
I know. Different postcode areas and experiencing varying levels of activity. And for those that watch the weekly update that I do, you'll see that as well when we break that down into the micro regions. And when we say
Yeah,
micro regions, we say Cooper, Leven, St Andrews, Cooper. If you watch our weekly updates, you'll see that as well, how it does vary in the different areas.
yeah,
Um, in some areas of the county, homes are selling quickly, while in others, buyers have more room to negotiate, whether on price, fixtures, fit-ins, or even completion dates.
yeah,
Um, this then means that flexibility can be an asset for buyers, expanding your search radius perhaps, or considering properties slightly outside your initial criteria could reveal opportunities that others have overlooked. And you might even surprise yourself because it could actually end up being the one. You might have ruled things out,
yeah,
but actually until you step foot into it, you'll get people saying, no, I don't want a semi-detached. They'll then go and view a semi-detached. And what are they living in just now? A semi-detached, because actually they've actually allowed themselves, they've stepped foot in, and that's the one. So expanding your criteria could reveal opportunities that others have overlooked, and maybe you even overlooked as well at the beginning of your search. But for sellers, understanding these local variations is critical to setting that right price and crafting an effective marketing plan.
yeah. You're absolutely right, and yeah, you're right about like Fife's unique kind of market dynamics, and every area and region does have their own kind of unique dynamics to their individual market. Um,
Mhm.
there's also a need for that kind of balanced perspective
Yeah.
from the sellers and the buyers dynamic as well. So it's always worth remembering that over 4 out of like 5 sellers are also buyers as well. So you need to think, you know, a lot of people who are um, selling are also going to be buyers as well. So this dual role then often means that we might be perceived as a loss on one side of the transaction can be recouped on the other side. So a
Yeah.
slightly lower sale price on your current property may open the door to negotiating a better deal on your next purchase. Do you know? So always keep that in mind. Sellers, 9 times out of 10 or 4 times out of 5 are buyers as well. And that's something to keep in mind, as well as, you know, like external factors that shape the Fife market. And if you're in other areas, the factors that shape those markets as well. No property market operates in complete isolation, and Fife is no exception. So the national and global trends will inevitably influence the entire country. Although each individual area is slightly different, you'll see the same kinds of trends filtering through up and down the country. That said, though, the Fife market has shown a lot of resilience in the past, and indeed I expect it will continue to do that, which is likely to continue for the foreseeable, while challenges always do remain, as you pointed out right at the start of the show, and as we've went through. Stabilising mortgage rates and a steady economy will offer hope for more active market in the coming months ahead, and a positive perspective on that outlook, I think, is hopefully where we're heading in terms of mortgage rates and the economy as well. But we don't have a crystal ball, but hopefully that's where things are headed.
We don't have a crystal ball, but positive mindset, let's manifest it, and you never know. But then kind of thinking about, you know, final thoughts as Fife properties market moves into 2025. We're not long now. What is it, less than 20 days till Christmas as well? So, you know, we're nearly there. So as we move closer to 2025, success will hinge on understanding the current dynamics and being prepared to adapt. For buyers, this means having your finances in order, as we've discussed. And if you haven't got your finances in order, what are you doing about it? Have you, you know, spoke to a mortgage advisor? Don't just automatically go straight to your bank, because could you actually get a better deal, better rate? And as well, going to a mortgage advisor, you have access to like incentives and things like that. They can often help you as well. You know, if you're self-employed, or if you may be more complicated with your pay slips, or if you've maybe not been with the UK, you'd be surprised at what can be done. But at least speak to a mortgage advisor and see what your options are. We can refer you if need be, but get your finances in order so you know what you're working with, basically. And it also shows, as we said, it means that you're a serious buyer. It shows the sellers that you're serious and you're ready to act quickly when the right property comes along. But for sellers, setting a realistic asking price for your Fife homes ensures your property is effectively marketed from day one. But the journey, you know, it requires a thoughtful approach, whether buying, selling, or keeping an eye on the market, that are both offered opportunities and challenges ahead. But with the right strategy, the path forward is clear, we'll say. What's your kind of final thoughts, Richard?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and it's a good way to bring things together at the end of what we've been discussing here. But for me, in that, I think it's so important that no matter what the market is like, whether do you know what area you're in, I think the most important thing we touched on today, obviously the stats are very interesting when you look at year on year, and where we are this year is to the same time last year. But I think it's always important that your agent and what they actually do in terms of, like you were reinforcing that digital marketing strategy, and how they market your property and act on your behalf and negotiate in your best interest to get the best results and get your property in front of the right people by doing the right campaigns and retargeting and social media and virtual videography and professional photography, and all that goes hand in hand. And the way that a property should be advertised and marketed in this day and age, I think that's for me really an important thing. And if you don't feel your agent's doing that, or you're not sure what that is that your agent should be doing, then feel free to come to us and have a chat, and we'd be able to have that discussion, because obviously it's something that we actively implement in our market and on a daily basis, and we've proved that it works exponentially in some cases. Definitely. So yeah, definitely, that's for me. But I mean, I think whatever the perspective on, like, or whatever anyone watching's perspective is on the Fife property market, do you know, have you noticed these kinds of trends that we've covered today, or Or do you see things maybe slightly differently? That would be interesting. You know, we're always open to people's interpretation or their views, and have a discussion. It's good to keep things interactive. It's not always, I mean, we are live, but it's not always time to discuss it live on the show. But if you jump in the comments, whether it's in this comment section just now, or if we're doing the rerun, I mean, Sophie and I, or indeed one of the team, would always endeavour to get back to you and answer any questions.
Yeah, of course. And as I mentioned as well, if after this show, go back and watch some of the weekly updates as well, so you can see those figures and you can see the areas that are, you know, really actively performing and those that maybe aren't, but also it'll give you an idea of where are you selling your property, where you're looking to move to. But go and have a look at some of the weekly updates as well, because they've got some great numbers in there for you to kind of see. And it's not too long as well. It's like a quick roundup, but certainly go back and do that, or as you said, pick up the phone to one of us and we will help.
Yeah, of course.
Perfect. Well, that's another midweek show, and we will see you all next week for another one, another week closer to Christmas, especially if I'm losing weeks and forgetting about them. We're going to get through the year even quicker. But that's been perfect. So thanks for coming on, Richard. And
Absolutely, Sophie. Thank you.
bye for now.
Thanks. Bye.